In a bustling city, young Mia shares her sandwich with John, a homeless man, spreading kindness in a moment of need. This small act of compassion leads to unexpected consequences that no one could foresee. Watch to find out how Mia's gesture of goodwill takes a surprising turn and impacts her life in ways she never imagined. If you are not subscribed, I recommend you subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss any videos. In the heart of a bustling city, nestled among towering skyscrapers and busy streets, there existed a small, close-knit community that felt like a world of its own. This was the world where 8-year-old Mia and her mother, Angela, lived. Their modest apartment, though compact, was filled with a warmth and affection that seemed to emanate from every nook and cranny. Mia, with her bright eyes and boundless curiosity, had a smile that could brighten even the cloudiest of days. Her dark, curly hair bobbed with every step she took, and her infectious laughter could be heard echoing through the hallways of their apartment building. Angela, a diligent single mother, poured every ounce of her energy into providing for her daughter and ensuring that Mia had the best life possible. Their home was a canvas of their love and creativity, walls adorned with Mia's colorful drawings, shelves filled with well-loved books, and a cozy kitchen where they shared countless evenings cooking and laughing together. Despite the financial challenges they faced, their unwavering love for one another made their small world feel complete and joyful. One sunny afternoon, as the school bell rang, signaling the end of yet another day, Mia burst out of the building with her characteristic enthusiasm. Her backpack bobbed against her back as she headed toward the nearby park, a place she cherished for its green spaces amidst the urban sprawl. The park was her sanctuary, a small patch of nature where she could escape and play before returning home. As Mia skipped along the familiar path, her gaze fell upon a figure she had never seen before. On a bench near the playground sat an older man whose appearance was strikingly different from the others around him. His clothes were tattered and worn, and his beard was unkempt. He sat hunched over, eyes cast downward, as if weighed down by an invisible burden. Even from a distance, Mia could sense a profound sadness surrounding him that tugged at her heartstrings. Her curiosity grew as she approached, and she could hear the faint rumbling of his stomach, a subtle reminder of his hunger. Without a second thought, Mia reached into her backpack and retrieved the sandwich her mother had packed for her afternoon snack. It was her favorite peanut butter and jelly, but as she looked at the hungry man, she felt an overwhelming sense of compassion. Taking a deep breath, Mia walked up to the bench, her tiny hands holding out the sandwich with a mixture of shyness and resolve. "Mister, would you like this?" Mia asked softly, her voice trembling slightly. The man looked up, his eyes meeting hers with a mix of surprise and gratitude. His weathered face softened as he accepted the sandwich with a heartfelt thank you as he took a bite. Mia watched with a sense of fulfillment, her heart swelling with the simple joy of having made a difference. What Mia didn't realize at that moment was that her small act of kindness was about to set off a chain of events that would ripple far beyond her immediate surroundings. The impact of her compassion was destined to create a surprising transformation, affecting not just her own life but the lives of many others in ways no one could have predicted. So, how does Mia's selfless gesture lead to such unexpected consequences? And what surprising turn of events does it ignite? Stick around to find out as we delve into the unfolding story. But before we dive deeper, let us know where you're watching from today by commenting below. If this heartwarming tale resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe for more stories that touch the heart and inspire the soul. "Excuse me, sir," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. The man looked up, his gaze drawn by the faint, trembling note in the girl's voice. His blue eyes, though weary and shadowed with the weight of countless struggles, held a flicker of gentleness that immediately soothed Mia's nerves. The world around them seemed to fall away, leaving only the tender exchange between the child and the man, bridging the gap between two disparate lives with a single, heartfelt gesture. "Yes, little one," he replied, his voice rough and brittle, as if the words had been trapped in his throat for far too long. The sound was like a distant echo, marked by the passage of time and hardship, yet tinged with a curiosity that drew Mia in. Mia extended her hand, clutching the sandwich with a mix of hope and trepidation. Her shy, hesitant smile was a beacon of warmth in the chilly afternoon air. "I thought you might be hungry. Would you like my sandwich?" The man's eyes widened, a look of astonished disbelief crossing his features. As he looked from the humble offering to the sincere, small face before him, a tide of emotion swept through him. It was as if the simple act of kindness was a lifeline in a sea of despair, a glimmer of human connection in his otherwise solitary existence. "That's very kind of you," he said, his voice catching slightly, laced with a mixture of surprise and appreciation. "But I couldn't possibly take your food. Don't you need it?" His words were more than just a refusal, they were an expression of the deep-seated pride and self-reliance that had been his shield in difficult times. Mia shook her head vigorously, her curls bouncing with the energetic insistence of her youth. "I had a big lunch at school," she fibbed, not wanting him to feel a pang of guilt. "Please take it. My mom always says that sharing is caring is caring." Her words were a simple echo of a lesson learned, yet they carried the weight of genuine compassion and a desire to make a difference. The man's hardened exterior softened, his face slowly cracking into a smile that seemed to dissolve years of weariness and struggle. With a trembling hand, he reached out, accepting the sandwich as though it were a precious gift, his gratitude palpable in every movement. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion, as if the simple act of accepting the sandwich was an acknowledgement of the kindness that had been long absent from his life. "What's your name, young lady?" "I'm Mia," she replied, her face glowing with the pride of having made a difference, however small. "What's yours?" "John," he answered, unwrapping the sandwich with a reverence that spoke volumes. "You know, Mia, you've just made me very happy." His words were not just an expression of thanks, but a testament to the profound impact of her small act of kindness. It was as though the sandwich was not merely food, but a symbol of hope and connection in his otherwise solitary world. Mia, feeling a deep sense of joy and accomplishment, sat down on the bench beside John, her legs swinging freely above the ground. "Why are you out here all alone?" she asked with innocent curiosity, her gaze full of concern. John took a slow, deliberate bite of the sandwich, savoring not just the taste but the warmth of the gesture that accompanied it. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. "Sometimes life takes unexpected turns," he explained gently, his voice carrying the weight of experience and the solace of human connection. "But kindness like yours makes those turns a little easier to bear." His words were a reflection of the solace he found in the simple, genuine interaction, a reminder that amidst life's harshest trials, moments of compassion could provide a balm to the soul. They sat together in a comfortable silence, the sounds of the park providing a gentle backdrop to their quiet companionship. John continued to eat the sandwich, while Mia watched the other children play, her heart swelling with the satisfaction of having helped someone in need. As he finished, John turned to Mia with a smile that radiated a warmth that had been hidden away for far too long. "You're a very special girl, Mia," he said earnestly. "Never lose that kindness in your heart. It can change the world." His words were a gift in themselves, a reminder of the power of kindness to transform lives and make a difference. Mia nodded solemnly, her small face reflecting the weight of his words. As the sun began to lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the park, she knew it was time to head home. "I have to go now," she said, standing up with a mix of reluctance and anticipation. "Will you be okay?" John nodded, his eyes twinkling with a gratitude that spoke louder than words. "Thanks to you, I'm better than I've been in a long time. Take care." Mia, with a final, heartfelt wave, Mia set off toward home, her step light and buoyant, her heart filled with a sense of fulfillment. She eagerly anticipated sharing her experience with her mother, the day's events leaving a lasting impression on her young soul. As Mia entered their cozy apartment, the rich aroma of her mother's cooking wrapped around her like a warm embrace. Angela was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of stew with a practiced hand. She looked up as Mia burst through the door, her keen eye catching the extra spring in her daughter's step and the sparkle of excitement in her eyes. "Hey, sweetheart," Angela greeted warmly, wiping her hands on her apron as she took in the sight of her daughter's exuberance. "How was your day?" Mia's face lit up with a radiant smile, her excitement bubbling over. "Mom, you won't believe what happened." Angela raised an intrigued eyebrow, her curiosity piqued by the sheer enthusiasm in Mia's voice. "Oh, what's got you so worked up?" Mia launched into her story, her words tumbling out in a rapid, animated rush. "There was this man in the park, Mom. He looked so sad and hungry. I gave him my sandwich, and we talked, and his name is John. He said I made him happy." Angela's expression shifted from curiosity to concern as she absorbed the gravity of the situation. She knelt to Mia's level, her hands gently resting on her daughter's shoulders. "Mia, honey, you gave your sandwich to a stranger." Mia nodded enthusiastically, her smile unwavering despite her mother's concern. "Yes, he was so grateful, Mom. You should have seen his smile." Angela's heart swelled with a mixture of pride and worry. She pulled Mia into a tender embrace, her mind racing with the dual emotions of admiration for her daughter's kindness and concern for her safety. "Sweetheart, that was very generous of you. But we need to talk about being careful around strangers." Mia's smile faltered, her brows knitting together in confusion as she tried to understand her mother's concern. "But Mom, John wasn't scary. He was just hungry and alone." Angela sighed deeply, her heart aching with the weight of her protective instincts. She held Mia close, the hug a silent conveyance of her deep love and the complex emotions she felt. "I know you have a big heart, baby. That's one of the things I love most about you. But not everyone in the world is as kind as you are. We need to be careful and make sure you stay safe." Mia nodded against her mother's shoulder, her trust in Angela's wisdom unwavering, even if she didn't fully understand. Angela pulled back, her gaze filled with both love and seriousness. "Promise me you'll be more careful, okay? If you see someone who needs help, come tell me first. We can figure out how to help together." "I promise," Mom, Mia said solemnly, her voice steady and sincere as she made a promise that underscored her commitment to both her kindness and her mother's concerns. Angela's smile grew tender as she ruffled Mia's curls, feeling a rush of warmth and pride. "That's my girl. Now, how about you help me set the table for dinner?" The simple task of preparing the table seemed like a profound moment of connection between them. As they moved around the kitchen together, Angela's heart swelled with admiration for her daughter's genuine compassion. Despite the myriad challenges life had thrown their way, she was constantly in awe of Mia's ability to see the good in others and her earnest desire to make a difference. Angela couldn't deny that her heart was sometimes heavy with worry. She feared for the world's dangers and the uncertainties it held for Mia. Yet, amid these fears, she found solace in the purity of her daughter's intentions. That night, as Angela carefully tucked Mia into bed, she settled on the edge of the mattress, her hand gently stroking Mia's hair. The room was bathed in a soft, comforting glow from the bedside lamp, casting gentle shadows that danced across the walls. "Mia, I want you to know how incredibly proud I am of you for wanting to help others," Angela said, her voice thick with emotion. "It's a truly beautiful quality." Mia's eyes sparkled with a mixture of surprise and joy, her innocent smile illuminating the dim room. "Really?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Angela nodded, her heart full. "Really. But remember, we have to be smart about how we help. There are ways to show kindness and still stay safe." Mia's curiosity was piqued, her small face reflecting an eagerness to understand. Like what she asked, her voice filled with genuine interest. Angela took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts as she considered how to explain. Well, she began, her voice steady but tender. We could volunteer together at the local soup kitchen, or we could gather some clothes and food to donate to shelters. This way, we're helping those in need while ensuring we're in a safe and controlled environment. Mia's eyes widened with excitement and hope. Can we do that, Mom? Can we? Her enthusiasm was contagious, filling Angela with a profound sense of hope and purpose. Angela chuckled softly, her heart swelling with love. Of course we can, sweetheart. We'll look into it this weekend, okay? As Mia nodded eagerly and snuggled deeper into her blankets, Angela leaned in for a goodnight kiss. Mia's voice, barely a whisper, broke the stillness. Mom. Angela leaned closer, her heart aching with a mixture of love and concern. Yes, baby. Mia's next question was a fragile thread of hope and concern. Do you think John will be okay? Angela paused, her thoughts turning inward as she chose her words with care. I hope so, sweetie, she said softly, her voice trembling slightly. Your kindness probably meant more to him than you know. But remember, there are people whose job it is to help folks like John. We can pray for him and hope that he finds the support he needs. Mia's eyes closed in contentment, and Angela quietly left the room, gently closing the door behind her. Leaning against the wall outside Mia's room, Angela took a deep, shuddering breath. The weight of single parenthood often felt like a heavy cloak, but moments like these, seeing the untainted kindness in her daughter's heart, made all the sacrifices and struggles worthwhile. As Angela moved through their modest apartment, tidying up before bed, her thoughts drifted back to the homeless man she had encountered in the park. She couldn't help but wonder about his story, the path that had led him to his current circumstances. The stark reality of his situation was a sobering reminder of life's fragility and the capricious nature of fortune. Angela reflected on her struggles, the long hours at work, the relentless balancing of bills, and the dreams she had put aside to provide for Mia. Despite these challenges, they had a home, food, and most importantly, each other. In that quiet moment, Angela felt a profound sense of gratitude for their blessings, allowing herself to focus on what they had rather than what they lacked. Settling onto the couch with a cup of tea, Angela opened her well-worn notebook. The pages held her dreams, goals, and hopes for the future, a testament to her resilience and aspirations. Tonight, she added a new entry: find ways to give back to the community with Mia. As she wrote, Angela felt a renewed sense of purpose. Though she might not be able to change the world, she could nurture the compassion in her daughter's heart, guiding it to grow in meaningful and safe ways. Together, they could make a difference, no matter how small. With a contented sigh, Angela closed her notebook and finished her tea. Tomorrow would bring its challenges, but also new opportunities for growth and kindness. As she headed to bed, she offered a silent prayer for Mia, for herself, and for John, the stranger in the park who had unknowingly touched their lives. In the quiet of the night, as both mother and daughter slept peacefully, the seeds of compassion they had planted began to take root, promising to bloom into something beautiful in the days ahead. The morning sun peeked through the curtains of Mia and Angela's small apartment, casting a warm, golden glow across the living room. It was Saturday, and the air was filled with the promise of a relaxing weekend. Angela bustled about the kitchen, her movements rhythmic and soothing as she prepared breakfast, while Mia sat at the table, her legs swinging back and forth with barely contained excitement as she hummed a cheerful tune. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Angela's voice was warm and inviting as she asked, "What would you like to do today?" Sweetie, placing a plate of scrambled eggs in front of Mia, she watched her daughter's eyes light up with joy. Mia's face was a picture of eagerness and hope as she responded, Can we go to the park again? Maybe we'll see John." The simple request was a reminder of the deep impact their small acts of kindness could have, and Angela felt a swell of gratitude and love for her daughter's unwavering spirit. Angela hesitated, her thoughts lingering on the unsettling conversation they'd had the previous night. As she tried to focus on the simple task of making breakfast, her anxiety mounted. Every clink of the dishes seemed to echo louder in her ears, magnifying her unease. She was about to suggest a quiet day at home, hoping to shelter Mia from any potential trouble, when a sudden, sharp knock at the door jolted her from her thoughts. Her heart raced, and she felt a knot tighten in her chest. The sound of the knock felt like a harbinger of something she couldn't quite grasp, but instinctively knew was significant. Who could that be? Angela wondered aloud, her voice trembling slightly as she hastily wiped her hands on a dish towel, her movements suddenly feeling clumsy and uncertain. When she opened the door, the sight of two police officers standing in the hallway sent a chill down her spine. Their serious expressions and authoritative presence were at odds with the usual tranquility of her morning. Angela's heart skipped a beat, and she felt a wave of dread wash over her. "Good morning, Mom," the taller officer said, his voice deep and commanding, slicing through the tense silence. "I'm Officer Johnson, and this is my partner, Officer Rodriguez. Are you Angela Thompson?" The formality of their tone and the gravity in their demeanor made Angela's stomach churn. She nodded, her throat dry and her mind racing. "Yes, that's me. Is everything all right?" Her voice cracked slightly, betraying the anxiety she was struggling to contain. Officer Johnson's gaze softened, but the seriousness of the situation remained evident. "We'd like to speak with you and your daughter, Mia. It's regarding an incident that occurred yesterday evening." The words hit Angela like a ton of bricks. Her protective instincts flared as a torrent of worries flooded her mind. She glanced back at Mia, who stood watching with wide, innocent eyes, her curiosity tinged with unease. "Of course," Angela said, trying to keep her voice steady despite the growing tightness in her chest. "Please come." In her heart pounded as she ushered the officers inside, every second feeling like an eternity. As the officers entered, Angela called out to Mia, her voice strained but gentle. "Mia, honey, can you come here, please?" Mia approached slowly, her usual bounce replaced by a cautious shuffle. The sight of her small, anxious face tugged at Angela's heartstrings. Officer Rodriguez crouched down to Mia's level, her voice soothing and gentle. "Hi, Mia. I'm Officer Rodriguez. We just want to ask you a few questions about yesterday. Is that okay?" The officer's kindness was a small comfort amidst the swirling storm of anxiety Angela felt. Mia's small nod and outstretched hand seemed to bring a fleeting sense of normalcy, but the tension in the room was palpable. Angela guided them to the living room, her mind spinning with worry. As they settled, she and Mia took their places on the couch, while the officers sat in the armchairs across from them. Officer Johnson cleared his throat, the sound seeming to magnify the silence that enveloped them. "Mia, we understand you met a man in the park yesterday. Can you tell us about him?" The question seemed innocent enough, but the gravity of the situation pressed heavily on Angela's chest. She watched as Mia's face brightened with the memory of her act of kindness. "Oh, you mean John? He was sitting on a bench and looked hungry, so I gave him my sandwich." The simplicity of Mia's response contrasted sharply with the storm brewing in Angela's heart. The officers exchanged a glance that didn't escape Angela's notice. "That was very kind of you," Mia. Officer Rodriguez said warmly, though Angela could sense an undercurrent of something more serious in her tone. "Can you remember what John looked like?" Angela's grip on Mia's hand tightened, her anxiety bubbling over. Why were the police so interested in this man? Had something terrible happened? Her protective instincts surged as she watched Mia describe John, her voice filled with innocent sincerity. "He had gray hair and a scruffy beard," Mia said, her face lighting up as she spoke. "His clothes were kind of dirty, but his eyes were kind, like Grandpa." Officer Johnson jotted notes, his expression focused and intent. "Did John say anything to you, Mia? Did he mention where he was from or where he was going?" Angela's heart raced faster. She felt a sense of helplessness as she listened to Mia recount her brief but meaningful interaction with John. "No, we just talked about the sandwich and how sharing is important. He told me I was special and that I should always be kind." Angela's worry transformed into a gnawing fear. "Officers, what's this all about? Has something happened to John?" Her voice was barely a whisper, filled with the desperation to understand what was unfolding. The officers exchanged another solemn look before Officer Johnson spoke again. "Ma'am, the man we believe is named John was found unconscious in the park later yesterday evening. He's currently in the hospital." Angela's breath caught in her throat, and she felt a cold wave of shock and horror wash over her. Her hand flew to her mouth, and her eyes filled with tears as the reality of the situation sank in. Mia looked up at her, her young face etched with confusion and concern. "Is John okay, Mommy?" she asked, her voice small and trembling. Before Angela could find the words, Officer Rodriguez interjected gently, "The doctors are taking good care of him, Mia. We're just trying to understand what happened." Angela's emotions surged uncontrollably. Her maternal instincts flared as she faced the officers, her voice rising with a mix of frustration and fear. "But why are you asking Mia about this? She's just a child who showed kindness to someone in need." Officer Johnson raised a hand in a calming gesture. "We understand, Mrs. Thompson. We're not accusing anyone of anything. We're simply trying to piece together John's movements from yesterday. Mia's interaction with him is the last confirmed sighting we have before he was found." The explanation did little to soothe Angela's growing unease. As the officers continued their questions, Angela's mind was a whirlwind of emotions: concern for John's condition, worry about Mia's unwitting involvement, and an increasing sense of dread about the entire situation. Mia, for her part, answered the officers' questions with unfiltered honesty, her innocent recollections of her brief encounter with John painting a picture of a man who had found solace in her small act of generosity. "Did John seem sick or injured when you met him?" Mia Officer Rodriguez asked softly. Mia shook her head vigorously. "No, he just looked tired and hungry, but he smiled a lot after we talked." As the questioning drew to a close, Officer Johnson handed Angela his card. "Mrs. Thompson, we appreciate your cooperation. We might need to follow up with you in the coming days, if you remember anything else that might be relevant." Angela took the card numbly, her mind still reeling from the whirlwind of events. As she closed the door behind the officers, she felt a profound sense of disorientation. The seemingly ordinary morning had been turned upside down, and she couldn't shake the feeling that their lives had irrevocably changed. Leaning against the door, Angela took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. When she turned back to the living room, she saw Mia standing there, her bright eyes now clouded with worry. "Mommy, did I do something wrong?" Mia's voice quavered with uncertainty. Angela's heart clenched at the sight of her daughter's troubled expression. She knelt and wrapped Mia in a tender embrace. "No, sweetheart, you didn't do anything wrong. You were kind and generous, just like we've always taught you to be." Angela's voice was choked with emotion, and she fought back tears as she held her daughter close. As she comforted Mia, Angela's mind raced with the challenge of finding the right words to explain the situation to her daughter. How could she protect Mia from the complexities of a world that sometimes seemed to punish acts of kindness? "Is John going to be okay?" Mia mumbled into Angela's shoulder, her voice barely audible. Angela pulled back slightly, looking into her daughter's eyes with a hopeful, yet uncertain gaze. "I hope so, honey. The doctors are doing everything they can. We can pray for him, okay?" Mia nodded solemnly, her small hands clasped together. "Can we visit him in the hospital?" Angela hesitated, her heart heavy with the weight of the uncertainty and fear that had settled over them. "We'll see, sweetie. For now, why don't we finish our breakfast?" She offered a weak smile, hoping to infuse a sense of normalcy into their disrupted morning. But as she looked at Mia, she couldn't shake the feeling that their lives had been irrevocably altered, and she wondered how they would navigate the days ahead. As Angela and Mia returned to the kitchen, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. The lightheartedness that had earlier filled their home had vanished, replaced by a heavy, tense silence that seemed to weigh down on them both. Angela tried to put on a brave face for Mia's sake, but internally, her mind was a whirlwind of anxiety and worry. The events of the morning loomed large, casting a shadow over her thoughts. The rest of the morning seemed to pass in a fog of uncertainty. Angela found herself compulsively checking her phone, her heart skipping a beat each time it buzzed, half expecting another call from the police. Mia, normally full of weekend enthusiasm and chatter, had become unusually subdued. The vibrancy that usually characterized her was noticeably dampened by the earlier events. By early afternoon, Angela realized they couldn't remain cooped up in the apartment indefinitely. The walls seemed to close in on them, and she knew a change of scenery might help both of them clear their heads. "Mia, honey," she called out gently, "how about we go for a walk and get some fresh air?" Mia looked up at her suggestion, her interest piqued. They stepped out of their building, and Angela noticed Mrs. Gonzalez, their elderly neighbor, peering at them intently from her window. The old woman's gaze was laden with a mix of curiosity and something else, perhaps judgment. As they walked down the street, Angela couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that they were being watched. At the corner store, Mr. Chun, the familiar and friendly owner, greeted them with his usual warmth, but his eyes held a hint of curiosity. "Everything okay?" Angela, he inquired as she paid for a bottle of water. "I saw some police at your building this morning." Angela forced a reassuring smile. "Everything's fine, Mr. Chun. Just a little misunderstanding." As they left the store, Angela could hear the murmur of whispered conversations starting up behind them. It was clear that news of the police visit was already circulating through their close-knit community. They continued their walk to a small playground a few blocks away. Mia darted towards the swings with her usual energy, while Angela took a seat on a nearby bench, her mind still swirling with anxiety. From her vantage point, she noticed a group of mothers gathered nearby, casting occasional furtive glances in her direction. One of the mothers, Sarah, whom Angela knew from PTA meetings, eventually broke away from the group and approached her with a concerned expression. "Hey, Angela," Sarah said, her tone a blend of concern and curiosity. "Is everything okay? We heard there was some trouble." Angela sighed, realizing that she could no longer avoid addressing the situation. "There's no trouble, Sarah. Mia helped a homeless man in the park yesterday, and the police had a few questions about him." Sarah's eyes widened in alarm. "A homeless man? Oh my, was Mia okay? Was he dangerous?" No, Angela quickly reassured her. Mia was perfectly fine. She just shared her sandwich with him. He was very kind to her. Sarah appeared somewhat relieved, but Angela could see that her mind was still churning with concerns. "Still, you can never be too careful these days. Maybe you should keep a closer eye on Mia when you're out." A flash of irritation surged within Angela. Mia is perfectly safe. She did a kind thing for someone who needed help. As Sarah rejoined her group, Angela could hear the whispers begin again. "Dangerous, irresponsible, poor child." The judgment in their voices made Angela's chest tighten. She wanted to rise and defend Mia's actions, to shout that kindness should be celebrated, not scrutinized, but she knew that reacting would only escalate the situation. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Meanwhile, on the swings, Mia seemed blissfully unaware of the adult drama unfolding around her. She pumped her legs with infectious energy, soaring higher and higher, her face lit up with a wide, carefree grin. Angela couldn't help but feel a pang of envy for her daughter's ability to find joy in the simplest of moments, even amidst the swirling confusion and worry. As the afternoon wore on, more people approached Angela. Some, like old Mr. Johnson from down the street, were supportive and encouraging. "You're raising a fine girl there, Angela," he said with a twinkle in his eye. "The world needs more kindness, not less." However, others were less understanding. Mrs. Peterson, the neighborhood watch captain known for her critical eye, cornered Angela as they were leaving the playground. "Angela, dear," she began, her voice dripping with insincere sweetness, "I hope you'll be more cautious in the future. We can't have our children associating with those kinds of people. It sets a bad example." Angela felt a surge of anger. "Those kinds of people? You mean human beings who have fallen on hard times?" I think the example Mia set was beautiful. She saw someone in need and helped him. Isn't that what we should all aspire to do? Mrs. Peterson's expression hardened, but Angela's words lingered in the air, leaving a bitter taste as she walked away. Mrs. Peterson's face flushed a deep crimson, but before she could muster a response, Angela took Mia's hand firmly in hers and walked away with a sense of resolute dignity. As they made their way home, Angela's thoughts were a tumultuous storm of conflicting emotions. She felt a swell of pride in Mia's display of kindness, tempered by a deep concern about the potential fallout from their involvement with John. Anger simmered beneath the surface as she reflected on the judgmental attitudes displayed by some of their neighbors. Mommy Mia's innocent voice cut through Angela's turbulent thoughts. Why did Mrs. Peterson look so mad? Angela took a deep breath, searching for the right way to address her daughter's question. "Well, honey," she began, choosing her words carefully. "Sometimes people find it hard to understand why we offer kindness to those we don't know. It can be confusing for them, but that doesn't mean we should stop being kind. It just means we have to be courageous in our kindness, even when it's not understood." Mia seemed to contemplate her mother's words for a moment before she spoke again. "I'm glad I gave John my sandwich," she said thoughtfully, "even if it made some people upset." Angela's heart swelled with pride. "I'm glad you did too, sweetheart. You made the right choice, and I'm very proud of you." As they climbed the familiar stairs to their apartment, Angela's phone buzzed insistently with a text message. It was from her best friend, Letitia. "Girl, what's going on? Heard about the police. Are you okay? Call me when you can." Angela felt a pang of frustration. The news had spread far beyond her initial expectations. She resolved to call Letitia later to explain the situation in detail. Inside their apartment, Angela felt a momentary sense of relief. Here they were shielded from the prying eyes and speculative gossip of the outside world. Mia, eager to escape the day's tension, plopped down in front of the TV with her coloring books. Angela retreated to the kitchen, needing a moment to gather her scattered thoughts. She leaned heavily against the counter, taking slow, deliberate breaths. Her mind replayed the day's events in a relentless loop: the unsettling visit from the police, the curious stares from neighbors, and the harsh, judgmental comments that stung more than she cared to admit. But then her thoughts turned to Mia, her sweet, empathetic daughter who had seen nothing but a person in need in a world that often seemed indifferent or cruel. Mia had acted on instinctive kindness, a beacon of compassion in a sea of skepticism. Just as Angela was beginning to regain her composure, a soft knock on the door startled her. She tensed, uncertain if it was another visit from the police or more intrusive neighbors. When she opened the door, she was greeted by Maria, their friendly upstairs neighbor, holding a covered dish with a warm smile. "I heard you had a tough day," Maria said gently. "I thought you might like some comfort food. It's my abuelita's special enchilada recipe." Angela felt a rush of gratitude as tears welled up in her eyes. "Maria, thank you so much. You have no idea how much this means to us." Maria's smile widened. "Mia is a special girl, Angela. Don't let anyone make you doubt the beauty of what she did." As Maria left, Angela felt a profound sense of relief. Despite the presence of judgmental individuals, there were still those who recognized and valued true kindness. She called Mia to the kitchen, and as they sat down to enjoy Maria's enchiladas together, Angela felt a renewed sense of resolve. They would face whatever challenges lay ahead with the same kindness and courage that had guided them through today. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft, warm glow over their modest kitchen, Angela reflected on how Mia's simple act of sharing a sandwich had ignited a series of events that would test them, but also reaffirm their faith in the power of compassion. No matter what happened next, Angela was certain of one thing: she would never allow the world to extinguish the radiant light of kindness that shone so brightly in her daughter's heart. The days that followed the police visit seemed to blur together for Angela and Mia. The routine continued, but there was a palpable sense of anticipation, as if they were waiting for an inevitable next development. Angela found herself checking her phone more frequently than usual, half expecting another call from the authorities. Meanwhile, Mia appeared to have returned to her usual, cheerful demeanor, chatting animatedly about school and friends. Occasionally, however, she would pause and ask, "Mommy, do you think John is okay?" Angela managed a reassuring smile, though her heart was heavy with worry. "I'm confident he's receiving the best care possible, sweetie. We just need to keep him in our thoughts and hope for the best." It was a warm Wednesday afternoon, and Angela had just picked Mia up from school. They were enjoying a snack together at the kitchen table when the knock on the door came again. The sharp rap reverberated through their small apartment, breaking the peaceful routine. Mia's eyes widened with a mix of excitement and anxiety. "Is it about John?" she whispered, her voice trembling with anticipation. Angela gave her daughter's hand a comforting squeeze. "Let's find out together, okay?" They made their way to the door, and Angela took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves for whatever news might be waiting for them. She opened the door to find Officers Johnson and Rodriguez standing in the hallway, their faces revealing little about the news they carried. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Thompson," Officer Johnson began, his tone calm but serious. "We have some important information about John that we need to discuss with you and Mia. May we come in?" Angela nodded, stepping aside to allow them into the apartment. As they settled into the living room, Mia sat on the edge of the couch, her hands tightly clasped in her lap, her gaze fixed on the officers. Officer Rodriguez offered a gentle smile. "How are you holding up, Mia? Have you been thinking about John?" Mia nodded vigorously. "Every day. Is he okay? Can we visit him?" The officers exchanged a brief, meaningful glance before Officer Johnson leaned forward, his voice softening. "Mia, do you remember how kind you were to John, how you shared your sandwich with him?" Mia nodded again, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Yes, why?" "Well," Officer Johnson continued, "that small act of kindness did more than just feed John. It helped him begin to remember who he is." Angela's hand flew to her mouth in shock. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. Officer Rodriguez turned to Angela with a sympathetic expression. "Mrs. Thompson, the man Mia met in the park isn't just a homeless person. His real name is Jonathan Caldwell, and he's been missing for over a year." The room fell silent as Angela and Mia absorbed the gravity of this revelation. Mia was the first to speak, her voice small and uncertain. "But he told me his name was John." Officer Rodriguez nodded gently. "That's correct, Mia. Jonathan had suffered a traumatic event that caused him to lose his memory. He couldn't remember who he was or where he came from. But your kindness, your simple gesture of sharing your sandwich triggered something in his mind and helped him start to remember." Angela felt tears welling up in her eyes. "So, he's not homeless?" Officer Johnson shook his head. "No, Mrs. Thompson. Jonathan comes from a wealthy family in New York. They've been searching for him tirelessly for over a year, never losing hope that he would be found." Mia's face scrunched up in confusion. But why was he in the park? Why didn't he go home? The officers exchanged another look before Officer Rodriguez spoke again. Sometimes, Mia, when people go through something very frightening or distressing, their minds protect them by making them forget. That's what happened to Jonathan. But your kindness reminded him of the love and care he had in his life, which helped him start to piece together his memories. Angela pulled Mia into a tight embrace, overwhelmed by the enormity of what her daughter's simple act of kindness had set into motion. "So, what happens now?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Officer Johnson's expression softened into the first genuine smile they had seen from him. "That's actually why we're here. Jonathan's family would like to meet both of you. They want to personally thank Mia for helping bring their son back to them." Mia's eyes sparkled with excitement. "We get to meet John's family? Can we, Mommy, please?" Angela hesitated, her protective instincts kicking in. "I'm not sure. It's a lot to take in." Officer Rodriguez leaned forward, her voice soothing and understanding. "Mrs. Thompson, I completely understand your concerns, but I want to assure you that the Caldwell family simply wants to express their gratitude. They're deeply moved by Mia's compassion and the role it played in helping them find their son." Angela looked down at Mia, seeing the hope and excitement shining in her daughter's eyes. She reflected on the judgment they had faced from their neighbors, the whispers and the sideways glances. Perhaps this was an opportunity to show that even the smallest acts of kindness could make a significant difference. After a moment of contemplation, Angela finally nodded. "All right, we'd be happy to meet them." If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 4 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity and emotion for Angela. She found herself caught up in a flurry of preparation, constantly worrying about the details: what they should wear, what they should say, and how they should present themselves. Angela meticulously planned every aspect, driven by both nervousness and a deep desire to make a good impression. Meanwhile, Mia was a bundle of uncontainable excitement. She peppered her mother with an endless stream of questions about John, or Jonathan, as they had recently learned was his full name, and his family. Her enthusiasm was infectious, making the preparation process both exhilarating and a bit overwhelming. On the day of the long-anticipated meeting, Angela dressed Mia in her favorite yellow sundress. The dress was a bright, sunny hue that seemed to make her dark curls shine with a glossy, polished sheen. It was the outfit that always brought out Mia's natural radiance and seemed to encapsulate her cheerful spirit. As they set off towards the park, where everything had first begun, Angela's stomach was a tight knot of apprehension and hope. As they arrived at the park, they saw the group waiting near the bench where Mia had first met Jonathan. Jonathan himself was there, and he appeared healthier and more vibrant than he had been during Mia's last encounter with him. Beside him stood a couple who could only be his parents. Their faces, etched with worry and uncertainty, were gradually softening into expressions of relief and happiness. When Angela and Mia drew near, Jonathan's face lit up with a broad, genuine smile. "Mia," he called out warmly, his voice brimming with recognition and affection. "It's wonderful to see you again." Mia's initial shyness melted away instantly. She hurried forward, stopping just shy of Jonathan. Jonathan, you look so different," she said, her eyes wide with admiration. Jonathan knelt at Mia's level, his eyes twinkling with emotion. "I feel different, thanks to you. You helped me remember who I am, Mia. You're my hero," he said, his voice full of gratitude and warmth. Mia giggled, a blush spreading across her cheeks. "I just shared my sandwich," she said quietly, almost shyly. Jonathan's mother stepped forward, her eyes shimmering with tears. "Oh, but it was so much more than that, sweetheart," she said softly. She knelt beside Jonathan, gently taking Mia's small hands into her own. "Your kindness brought our son back to us. We can never thank you enough." Angela stood back, her own eyes misting with tears as she watched the heartfelt exchange. Jonathan's father approached her, extending his hand with a look of sincere gratitude. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "I'm Edward Caldwell. What your daughter did is nothing short of a miracle." Angela shook his hand, feeling a wave of overwhelming emotion. "Please call me Angela." And Mia, she was just being herself. She's always had a big heart. Edward nodded, a warm smile spreading across his face. That big heart changed our lives. We had lost hope of ever finding Jonathan, and then out of the blue, we received a call saying he had been found and was beginning to remember, all because a little girl shared her sandwich. As they conversed, Mia was already deep in conversation with Jonathan and his mother, her initial shyness long forgotten. Angela observed with a smile as Mia's face lit up with each new detail she learned about Jonathan's life. "You have a dog," Mia exclaimed, her eyes wide with excitement. "I've always wanted a dog." Jonathan laughed, affectionately ruffling Mia's curls. "Maybe you can come visit him sometime. I'm sure Max would love to meet the girl who helped bring me home." Jonathan's mother, who introduced herself as Catherine, turned to Angela with a warm smile. "We'd love to have you both visit us in New York. It's the least we can do to show our appreciation." Angela's heart fluttered with excitement at the prospect, though it was quickly followed by a pang of concern. "That's very kind of you, but I'm not sure we can afford." Edward interrupted gently. "Please, let us take care of everything. It would mean the world to us to properly express our gratitude for what you've done." As their conversation continued, Angela began to feel a profound sense of relaxation and relief. The Caldwells exuded a genuine warmth and heartfelt gratitude that was palpable, and Angela found herself easing into their embrace of kindness. She watched as Mia's face illuminated with pure, unadulterated happiness, a vivid testament to the way this experience was expanding her daughter's worldview in ways Angela had never imagined. Each laugh and each shared story seemed to weave a tapestry of connection and understanding that was deeply moving. Angela realized that Mia's simple act of sharing had rippled outwards, touching lives far beyond what they had ever anticipated. The park, once a place of uncertainty and fear, had transformed into a setting for profound emotional exchange and the beginning of something truly meaningful. As the afternoon stretched on, they all gathered on a picnic blanket Catherine had thoughtfully brought along. The scene was warm and inviting, filled with laughter and the easy camaraderie of new friends coming together. Jonathan's voice, rich with emotion and introspection, cut through the gentle hum of conversation. "You know," he began, his tone thoughtful, "when I was lost, I felt utterly alone. I was adrift in a sea of confusion, unable to grasp who I was or where I came from. Then, out of the blue, this little angel," he said, his eyes softening as he looked at Mia, "showed me an extraordinary act of kindness when I was at my lowest. It was as if she lit a beacon of hope in the darkness, guiding me back to myself." Catherine, with tears shimmering in her eyes, reached out and clasped Mia's tiny hands in her own. "You reminded our Jonathan that there is still goodness in this world," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "That's what sparked the return of his memories." Mia's radiant smile faltered momentarily as she processed this, her face growing serious with concern. "But why were you lost, Jonathan? What happened to you?" The adults exchanged hesitant glances, the weight of the explanation hanging heavy. Jonathan took a deep breath, his voice gentle yet filled with the gravity of his experience. "I had an accident, Mia. It injured my head, causing me to lose my memory and my sense of self. But the doctors are working with me, and each day I'm starting to remember more." Angela watched as Mia absorbed this revelation, her capacity for empathy and understanding shining through. The sight of her daughter's solemn nod, followed by a fierce hug around Jonathan, was profoundly moving. "I'm so glad you're not lost anymore," Mia murmured into his shirt, her voice brimming with sincere relief. As the sun began its slow descent, casting long, soft shadows across the park, Edward cleared his throat, signaling a shift in the conversation. "Angela, Mia, there's something we need to talk to you about," he said, his tone earnest. Angela's heart fluttered with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. Catherine's reassuring smile provided a small measure of comfort. "It's nothing bad, I promise," she said gently. "Jonathan's experience has shown us how crucial it is to support those in need. We've been inspired to start a foundation focused on helping the homeless and those struggling with memory loss or mental health challenges." Edward nodded in agreement, his expression serious yet hopeful. "And we would like to name it after Mia, the Mia Thompson Foundation for Compassion and Memory Recovery." Angela's eyes widened in shock, her hand flying to her mouth as the enormity of the gesture sank in. Mia's expression mirrored her mother's astonishment, her mouth forming a perfect O of surprise. "We would love for you both to be involved," Jonathan said, his voice filled with sincerity. "Your perspective and compassion are irreplaceable. Of course, we understand if it feels overwhelming." Angela felt tears welling up in her eyes as she looked at Mia, whose face was a mosaic of shock and excitement. "What do you think, sweetie?" she asked softly. "Would you like to help others, just like you helped Jonathan?" Mia's response was immediate and enthusiastic, her curls bouncing with excitement. "Yes. Can we, Mommy? Please." Angela laughed through her tears, her heart swelling with pride. "Of course we can, baby. Of course we can." As they began to discuss the foundation's details, Angela felt an overwhelming warmth spreading through her chest. The potential judgment from neighbors, the whispers and sidelong glances, all seemed insignificant in the face of this profound opportunity. Mia's simple act of kindness had not only changed Jonathan's life, but was now poised to create a ripple effect that could touch countless others. The promise of future meetings and plans for the foundation hung in the air like a beacon of hope. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over their goodbyes, Angela and Mia walked hand in hand back to their apartment. Mia looked up at her mother, her face glowing in the fading light, with a sense of wonder. "Mommy," she said, her voice filled with a deep, heartfelt gratitude, "I'm so glad I shared my sandwich." Angela squeezed her daughter's hand tightly, her heart overflowing with love and pride. "Me too, baby," she said softly, her voice thick with emotion. "Me too." As Angela and Mia climbed the stairs to their apartment, Angela was struck by how their lives had irrevocably changed. The future now seemed full of possibilities, all stemming from Mia's simple act of sharing with a hungry stranger. Inside their small home, as Mia excitedly talked about their new friends and the foundation, Angela felt a deep sense of peace. Despite the anticipated challenges and potential disapproval from others, Angela was confident they were on the right path. Later that night, as Angela tucked Mia into bed, she expressed her pride in her daughter's actions, acknowledging how a small act of kindness had the power to transform lives. Mia, sleepily echoing the values Angela had instilled in her, expressed her desire to continue helping others. Angela's heart swelled with love and gratitude, knowing that Mia's actions had set in motion a chain of events that would allow them to help even more people. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 5 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. As Angela reflected on their journey, from the initial encounter in the park to the profound impact of Mia's kindness, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges they faced, including judgment and misunderstanding, were outweighed by the positive impact they had discovered through compassion. She was filled with hope and gratitude for the future and the opportunity to continue spreading kindness. The upcoming trip to New York was a source of excitement for both Angela and Mia. With the arrangements finalized by the Caldwells, they eagerly prepared for their new adventure. As they boarded the plane, Mia's enthusiasm was palpable, and Angela felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety. This trip represented a significant step into the unknown, but Angela was certain that embracing this opportunity was the right decision for them both. The flight from their hometown to New York City seemed to pass in a mere blink of an eye, a blur of excitement and anticipation. As the plane touched down and taxied to the gate, Angela and Mia exchanged excited glances, their hearts racing at the thought of the new adventure awaiting them. The bustling terminal greeted them with a symphony of sounds, the hum of voices, the clatter of luggage, and the occasional announcement over the intercom. As they moved through the crowd, Angela's eyes scanned the sea of faces, finally landing on a familiar figure. Edward Caldwell stood by the arrivals area, his warm and welcoming smile instantly recognizable. Edward, dressed in a sharp suit with a casual charm, extended a friendly handshake to Angela and offered Mia a gentle high five. "Welcome to New York," he exclaimed with genuine enthusiasm. "We're so glad you could make it." His voice carried a reassuring tone, immediately putting them at ease. As they navigated through the busy streets of Manhattan in Edward's sleek car, Mia's wide-eyed wonder was palpable. She pressed her face against the window, absorbing every detail of the towering skyscrapers and neon lights that flashed by. Everything so big, she breathed, her voice filled with awe. Edward chuckled heartily at her reaction. "It certainly is, Mia. But you know, even in a city as vast as this, small acts of kindness can have a tremendous impact, just like the kindness you showed Jonathan." The car soon pulled up to a charming brownstone in a serene, tree-lined neighborhood. The contrast between the bustling city and this tranquil enclave was striking. As they stepped out of the vehicle, the front door of the brownstone swung open, revealing Catherine Caldwell with a warm, inviting smile. Jonathan, standing beside her, was accompanied by a large, friendly golden retriever named Max. Mia's face lit up instantly at the sight of the exuberant dog, her excitement bubbling over in a delighted squeal. Jonathan greeted them with a hearty laugh. "Max has been eagerly anticipating your arrival, Mia. I think he knows there's something special about you." As Max bounded over to greet them, his tail wagging energetically, Angela felt a profound wave of emotion. The reality of their arrival hit her with a rush. They were here, at the start of a journey that held the promise of significant change, not just for their own lives, but for many others. Over the next few days, the Caldwells hosted Angela and Mia, introducing them to the wonders of New York City. The itinerary was packed with visits to iconic landmarks and hidden gems. Mia was captivated by every new sight, from the awe-inspiring skyscrapers to the lively street performers in Central Park. However, their time was not solely spent sightseeing. They delved deeply into discussions about the foundation, brainstorming ideas, and laying out detailed plans. Angela was particularly impressed by how the Caldwells valued Mia's input. They listened attentively to her suggestions, treating her ideas with the seriousness they deserved. "You know," Catherine said one afternoon as they reviewed potential programs, "I think Mia's idea about the sandwich stations is brilliant. It's simple yet profoundly impactful." Edward nodded in agreement, his enthusiasm evident. "We could set up sandwich stations throughout the city where people in need could get a meal without any questions asked. It's a straightforward yet powerful way to provide support." Mia's face brightened at the suggestion. "And maybe we could add little notes in the sandwiches, like the ones I made for Jonathan, to lift people's spirits." The adults exchanged smiles, clearly touched by Mia's boundless compassion. "That's a wonderful idea," Mia Jonathan said, affectionately ruffling her hair. As the days progressed, Angela found herself increasingly relaxed and at ease. The Caldwells treated her and Mia with such warmth and sincerity that they quickly felt like an extended family. Angela watched as Mia flourished under their attention, her confidence growing with each passing day. One evening, as they gathered on the rooftop terrace of the Caldwell home, the sprawling city skyline stretched out before them. The sun began its descent, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. Angela felt a deep sense of tranquility as she looked at Mia, who was curled up next to Jonathan, her eyes wide with curiosity as he pointed out various buildings and landmarks. Catherine joined Angela, following her gaze with a thoughtful smile. "She's truly an extraordinary child," Catherine said softly. Angela nodded, her throat tightening with emotion. "She is. Sometimes I wonder how I was lucky enough to have her." Catherine placed a comforting hand on Angela's arm. "It's not just luck, Angela. It's love. You've raised her with so much love and compassion, and now she's sharing that with the world." As the sky deepened into twilight and the city lights began to twinkle, Edward approached them with a tablet in hand, his excitement palpable. "I've been working on something," he said, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. "I think you'll all want to see this." He pulled up a beautifully designed website, its header reading the M. Thompson Foundation for Compassion and Memory Recovery. The page featured a radiant photo of Mia alongside the foundation's mission statement. Edward read aloud from the screen. "Our goal is to spread kindness and hope through small, meaningful acts. Inspired by a little girl's compassion, we aim to assist those experiencing homelessness, memory loss, and mental health challenges, reminding them that they are not forgotten." Mia's eyes widened as she saw her photo on the website. "That's me," she said softly, pointing at her image. Jonathan knelt beside her, his voice gentle and reassuring. "That's right, Mia. You're the heart of this foundation. Your kindness will touch and help so many people." As they gathered around the tablet, discussing the website and the foundation's plans, Angela felt a surge of emotion. This project was far greater than she had ever envisioned. Her little girl, who had set out simply to help a hungry stranger, was now at the center of an initiative with the potential to make a profound difference in countless lives. The following day, they headed to a local homeless shelter, where the Caldwells had arranged for them to serve meals. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as they donned aprons and hairnets, each detail of their attire a prelude to the day's work. Mia's excitement was practically tangible, radiating from her as she fidgeted with her apron. "Remember, sweetie," Angela said, guiding Mia toward the serving line, "everyone here deserves the same kindness and respect we showed Jonathan." Mia nodded eagerly, her eyes bright with enthusiasm. "I know, Mommy. I'll make sure to smile at everyone and say something nice," she promised, her voice brimming with sincerity. As they began to serve the meals, Angela observed with a growing sense of awe as Mia engaged with each person who came through the line. With every plate handed out, Mia offered a kind word and an unwavering smile. Her eyes, sparkling with genuine compassion, seemed to reach out and touch each individual. "You're doing great," she told one man as she handed him his meal. "I hope you have a wonderful day." The man, who had appeared weary and dejected when he entered, responded with a faint but heartfelt smile. "Thank you, little one," he said softly. "You've already brightened my day." As the hours passed, Angela noticed a profound change in the atmosphere of the shelter. Individuals who had initially entered with hunched shoulders and downcast expressions were leaving with more upright postures and subtle, yet significant, smiles. The impact of Mia's simple yet profound acts of kindness was palpable, gradually transforming the entire room. During a brief respite, Catherine pulled Angela aside, her eyes wide with wonder. "Do you see what's happening?" she asked, her voice brimming with amazement. "Mia is truly changing lives, one smile at a time." Angela nodded, feeling a lump form in her throat as tears threatened to spill. "She's always had this incredible ability," she said softly. "I just never fully understood the extent of its impact." That evening, as they gathered around the dinner table at the Caldwells' home, the atmosphere was infused with a sense of exhilaration. Edward stood up, tapping his glass to garner everyone's attention. "I have an announcement to make," he declared, his voice laden with emotion. "After witnessing Mia in action today, we've decided to take a significant step forward. We want to establish similar sandwich stations and kindness centers in cities across the country." A collective gasp of surprise and admiration swept around the table. Mia's eyes widened in astonishment. "Really?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. Jonathan reached over and gently squeezed Mia's hand, his expression filled with pride. "Yes, your idea and your compassion are so powerful. They deserve to be shared beyond just one city. We want to spread this far and wide." As the adults delved into discussions about logistics and plans, Mia tugged on Angela's sleeve, her face earnest and full of hope. "Mommy," she asked, her voice serious, "does this mean we'll be helping even more people?" Angela pulled her daughter close, nodding with a tender smile. "Yes, sweetheart. Thanks to you, we'll be making a difference for people all over the country." As the evening wore on and the plans for the future took shape, Angela found herself marveling at the dramatic shift in their lives. Just a few weeks prior, they had been leading a quiet life in their modest apartment. Now, they were at the heart of a burgeoning movement poised to touch thousands of lives. Later that night, as she tucked Mia into bed in the Caldwell's guest room, Angela sat on the edge of the mattress, gently stroking her daughter's curls. "How are you feeling, sweetie?" she asked softly. "It's been quite a day." Mia yawned deeply, burrowing further into the soft, velvety pillows surrounding her. Her voice, muffled by sleepiness, drifted to Angela. "I'm happy, Mommy," she murmured, her eyes heavy with drowsiness. "I'm really happy we're helping people, just like you always taught me to do." Angela bent down and gently placed a kiss on Mia's forehead, her heart swelling with a mixture of love and pride. "You're doing so much more than I ever imagined, sweetheart. You're changing the world." As Mia's eyelids fluttered shut and a contented smile spread across her face, Angela lingered in the doorway, watching her daughter as she drifted off to sleep. Angela's mind wandered through the journey that had brought them to this moment, a journey that began with a simple act of kindness in the park, which had blossomed into a movement with incredible potential. She thought about all the lives they would touch through the foundation, all sparked by one little girl's decision to share with a hungry stranger. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 6 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. With a deep breath, Angela quietly closed Mia's door, feeling a renewed sense of purpose and resolve. She knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, armed with kindness and courage. The next morning, during breakfast, Edward, who had been working tirelessly behind the scenes, had exciting news to share. "I've been in contact with some influential people in other cities," he said, his voice filled with enthusiasm. "We've got interested in setting up kindness centers in Chicago, Los Angeles, and Miami to start with." Mia's eyes grew wide with astonishment as she looked up from her bowl of cereal. "Wow, that's so many places," she said, her voice tinged with awe. Catherine, her eyes sparkling with excitement, nodded in agreement. "And that's just the beginning. We're aiming to expand into smaller cities and towns as well. Your idea is going to spread far and wide, Mia." As they delved into discussions about their ambitious plans, Angela couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. She turned to Jonathan, who was sitting next to her. "It's all happening so quickly," she said softly. Jonathan gave a reassuring nod. "I understand it might feel overwhelming, but remember, you and Mia are the heart of this endeavor. We'll move forward at a pace that feels right for you." Their last day in New York was a whirlwind of finalizing plans and preparing for their return home. As they packed their bags, Mia, usually so energetic, seemed unusually quiet. Angela noticed, and folding a shirt, asked gently, "What's on your mind, sweetie?" Mia looked up, her expression serious. "Mommy, when we go home, will everything be different?" Angela took a moment to gather her thoughts before responding. "Yes, some things will be different. We'll be busier, and we'll have the chance to help more people. But the important things are home, and the love we share, those things will stay the same." Mia seemed reassured by this response. "And we'll still be able to help people in our neighborhood too, right?" Angela smiled warmly and pulled Mia into a comforting hug. "Of course we will. We'll start right where we began, in our community." As they said their goodbyes to the Caldwells, the atmosphere was filled with emotion. There were tears and heartfelt hugs all around. Edward, as they were preparing to leave for the airport, reminded them, "Remember, you're not alone in this. We're a team now." On the flight home, as Mia slept peacefully against her shoulder, Angela reflected on the whirlwind of the past few weeks. Their lives had transformed in ways she had never imagined, all sparked by a simple, profound act of kindness. As the plane touched down in their home city, Angela felt a thrilling sense of excitement building within her. They were returning not just with memories, but with a mission to make tangible, positive changes in their community and beyond. In the days and weeks that followed, Angela and Mia threw themselves into their work. They collaborated closely with the Caldwells via video calls, meticulously planning the launch of their local kindness center. They reached out to local businesses for support, scouted potential locations, and began recruiting volunteers. News of their endeavors spread quickly through their close-knit community. Neighbors who had once been skeptical or judgmental began stepping forward, eager to be part of the foundation's work. Mrs. Peterson, who had previously been critical, was among the first to volunteer. As she worked alongside Angela one afternoon setting up the Kindness Center, she admitted, "I was wrong. What Mia did was truly beautiful. I'm honored to be part of this." The long-awaited day of the center's grand opening finally arrived, and Angela felt a whirlwind of emotions as she and Mia stood before the assembled crowd. The air was electric with anticipation and excitement. Mia, with her usual determination, stepped up to the microphone, her face serious, but her eyes glowing with warmth and resolve. Angela could hardly contain her pride as she watched her daughter prepare to speak. "Hello everyone," Mia began, her voice clear and steady. "Thank you all for joining us today. We are here because we believe that kindness truly matters, that helping one another is essential, and that even the smallest act of kindness has the power to transform someone's entire world." As Mia continued her heartfelt speech, sharing the personal story of how she met Jonathan and the journey that led to the creation of the foundation, Angela observed the crowd's reactions closely. She saw tears welling up in the eyes of many attendees, heads nodding in heartfelt agreement, and smiles spreading across faces as Mia's contagious enthusiasm touched everyone present. The impact of Mia's words was palpable, and when she concluded her speech, the applause erupted into a resounding cheer that seemed to echo the collective hope and excitement of the community. With the ceremonial ribbon cutting, Angela experienced a profound sense of accomplishment, a feeling that surpassed anything she had ever known. The Mia Thompson Foundation was officially open, and its impact began to spread throughout the community. The Kindness Center quickly became a beacon of hope, offering not only essential resources like food and necessities, but also extending a warm welcome, a listening ear, and genuine compassion to anyone who walked through its doors. Mia, despite her youth, was at the heart of this transformative effort. She dedicated her afternoons after school to the center, engaging with visitors, assisting with food preparation, and radiating her unique brand of kindness to everyone she encountered. One afternoon, after a particularly busy day, Mia and Angela were tidying up the center. Mia, with a thoughtful expression, turned to Angela and asked, "Mommy, do you think we're making a difference?" Angela knelt to meet her daughter's gaze and responded with heartfelt sincerity, "Sweetie, I know we are. Just look at all the people we've helped and the smiles we've shared. You've started something truly remarkable." Mia nodded, a small, hopeful smile tugging at her lips. "I'm glad," she said softly. "I just want everyone to feel loved, like how you make me feel loved every day." Angela embraced Mia tightly, feeling her emotions swell as tears formed in her eyes. "Oh, darling," she whispered, "you're changing the world with every act of kindness, and I couldn't be prouder." As they walked home together that evening, hand in hand, Angela reflected on the remarkable journey they had undertaken, from sharing a simple sandwich in the park to establishing a foundation that was spreading kindness far and wide, all thanks to Mia's compassionate vision. The sun was setting, casting a golden hue over their neighborhood as they reached their apartment building. Angela realized that although their address had remained the same, their lives had expanded significantly. The Mia Thompson Foundation had grown and flourished, and with it, their roles as community leaders and advocates for kindness. One crisp autumn morning, as they made their way to school, Mia noticed a new face on their street, an elderly woman struggling with her groceries. Without hesitation, Mia approached her with a warm and polite offer. "Excuse me, Mom," Mia said gently, "would you like some help with your bags?" The elderly woman looked both surprised and relieved. "Oh, that would be lovely, dear. Thank you so much." Mia took one of the bags, and Angela stepped forward to assist with the others. They walked alongside the woman, who introduced herself as Mrs. Larson. "I just moved to the neighborhood," Mrs. Larson explained, her voice tinged with both fatigue and gratitude. "It's been a bit overwhelming starting over at my age." Mia's face brightened with empathy and encouragement. "Don't worry, Mrs. Larson," Mia said cheerfully, her hand gently squeezing Mrs. Larson's. "We'll be your friends, right, Mommy?" Angela nodded with a warm, reassuring smile. "Mrs. Larson, we're so glad to have you as part of our neighborhood," Angela said. Welcome. By the time they arrived at Mrs. Larson's apartment, Mia had already extended an invitation for her to visit the Kindness Center and join them for dinner sometime soon. As they prepared to part ways, Mrs. Larson's eyes glistened with gratitude. Her voice, though soft, carried a heartfelt sincerity. "You know," she said quietly, "I was feeling quite lonely this morning, but meeting both of you has completely brightened my day. I can't thank you enough." As they walked away towards the school, Mia was thoughtful for a moment before looking up at Angela with a spark of inspiration in her eyes. "Mommy, do you think we could start a program to help older people like Mrs. Larson so they don't feel lonely?" Angela felt a wave of pride at her daughter's compassionate nature. She responded with enthusiasm, "That's a wonderful idea, sweetheart. How about we brainstorm some ideas together, and then we can discuss it with the Caldwells during our next video call?" Mia's face lit up with excitement as she nodded vigorously, her mind already buzzing with possibilities. That evening, during their weekly video call with the Caldwells, Mia eagerly shared her experience with Mrs. Larson and her new idea for a program. "I was thinking," Mia began, her expression serious but hopeful, "what if we created a buddy system where young people could be paired with older people who might be feeling lonely? It could be a way for them to make new friends and feel more connected." The Caldwells exchanged impressed glances, clearly moved by Mia's thoughtfulness. "That's a brilliant idea," Mia Edwards said, his eyes lighting up. "Such a program could bridge the generational gap and offer meaningful companionship to those who need it the most." Catherine nodded in agreement, adding, "We could call it Kindness Across Ages. What do you think, Angela?" Angela, who had been listening with growing excitement, smiled warmly. "I think it's a perfect name. Mia has always had a special gift for connecting with people of all ages." Over the following weeks, they set to work on developing the Kindness Across Ages program. They reached out to local schools and retirement communities, set up a comprehensive system for background checks and buddy matching, and crafted guidelines to ensure everyone's safety and comfort. The program's launch was marked by a lively and heartwarming event at the Kindness Center. Mia, proudly wearing a bright yellow Kindness Ambassador t-shirt, buzzed around the room, introducing young volunteers to their elderly buddies. Angela watched from the sidelines, her heart swelling with pride as she saw Mia's natural ability to connect with people shine through. She observed a shy teenage boy beginning to open up as he discovered a shared passion for chess with his elderly buddy. She saw a group of young girls laughing and leaning in as their new friend shared captivating stories from her past. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 7 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Mrs. Peterson, one of the most dedicated volunteers, approached Angela with admiration in her voice. "You know," she said, her tone filled with warmth, "I never would have thought that a child could teach us all so much about kindness and compassion. Mia is truly something special." Angela nodded, feeling her emotions well up. She was deeply moved by the impact of her daughter's vision and the way it had brought people together, reinforcing the power of empathy and connection. She is, and she's inspiring others to be their best selves too. As the event drew to a close, Mia came rushing over with boundless energy, her cheeks flushed with the exhilaration of the day. "Mommy, did you see? Everyone's making new friends," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Angela pulled Mia into a warm embrace, her heart swelling with pride. "I saw, sweetheart. What you've accomplished here is truly amazing," Angela said, her voice filled with genuine admiration. As they strolled home under the canopy of a star-studded sky, Mia, unusually quiet, walked beside her mother. Angela noticed the thoughtful look on her daughter's face and gently squeezed Mia's hand. "What's on your mind, darling?" Angela inquired softly. Mia looked up, her eyes reflecting the moonlight and a depth of concern. "Mommy, do you think we're making the world better? Like making a difference?" she asked with a seriousness that belied her young age. Angela paused, kneeling to meet Mia's gaze with empathy and reassurance. "Sweetheart, look at me," Angela said tenderly. "What you've done, what we've done together, is spreading kindness and love far and wide. That makes the world a better place." Mia nodded slowly, a faint smile beginning to appear on her lips. "I just want everyone to be happy and not feel alone," Mia said earnestly. Angela pulled her daughter into a tight, comforting hug. "And that's what makes you so extraordinary, sweetie. Your big heart is touching and changing lives every single day," Angela whispered. As they resumed their walk home, Angela reflected on their journey from their modest apartment to a flourishing foundation dedicated to spreading kindness nationwide. All of this had been made possible by Mia's immense capacity for empathy and care. The success of the Kindness Across Ages program soon garnered local media attention. One Sunday morning, a reporter and cameraman from the city's leading news station arrived at the Kindness Center to feature their story. Mia, initially reserved in front of the camera, soon found her confidence as she enthusiastically shared stories about the foundation and its new initiative. The reporter, captivated by Mia's genuine enthusiasm and maturity beyond her years, was drawn into the world of kindness and compassion that the little girl represented. "What inspired you to start this foundation?" the reporter asked, her curiosity piqued. Mia's expression became solemn. "I saw someone who needed help, and I helped. That's all there is to it. I believe if everyone did that, the world would be a much nicer place," Mia responded with sincere conviction. The segment aired that evening, and the impact was immediate and profound. The Kindness Center's phone lines were overwhelmed with calls from people eager to volunteer or donate, and their website experienced a crash due to the surge in traffic. As Angela and Mia watched the news story replay from the comfort of their couch, Angela felt a surge of mixed emotions: pride, excitement, and a hint of apprehension. "Things might get a bit busier now, sweetheart," Angela said softly, her eyes meeting Mia's. Mia, still engrossed in the news segment, simply nodded, her face reflecting a mix of anticipation and calm resolve. As the event concluded, Mia's excitement was palpable. Bounding over to her mother with flushed cheeks, she shared her joy at seeing everyone make new friends. Angela embraced her daughter warmly, deeply moved by the day's success. As they walked home under a starlit sky, Mia's usual vibrancy gave way to a contemplative silence, prompting Angela to gently inquire about her thoughts. Mia, looking serious and reflective, asked her mother if they were truly making a difference in the world. Angela, kneeling to meet Mia's gaze, reassured her that their efforts were indeed making the world a better place by spreading kindness and love. Mia's concern for others' happiness and her desire to prevent loneliness were met with Angela's heartfelt affirmation of her daughter's impact. The Kindness Across Ages program's success drew local media attention, with a reporter and cameraman arriving at the Kindness Center to feature their story. Mia, initially shy, gradually opened up about the foundation's mission. Her sincere response about helping others and its potential to improve the world captivated the reporter and highlighted the program's positive influence. The news story aired to a flood of support, overwhelming the Kindness Center's phone lines and website with requests to volunteer and donate. As Angela and Mia watched the replay together, Angela felt a mix of pride and concern about the increased attention. Mia, resolute and hopeful, demonstrated her commitment to their mission, underscoring the journey they had embarked on and the future they aimed to shape. Angela and Mia's lives were filled with busyness as the Mia Thompson Foundation expanded rapidly, establishing new kindness centers in neighboring cities. Angela juggled her job with her growing responsibilities at the foundation, while Mia remained enthusiastic and supportive. One evening, as they prepared dinner, Mia proposed a special Thanksgiving dinner at the Kindness Center for people without families. Angela, touched by her daughter's compassion, agreed, and they began planning the event. The Thanksgiving dinner became their largest project yet, involving local restaurants and grocery stores for donations, recruiting volunteers, and transforming the Kindness Center into a festive dining space. On Thanksgiving Day, Angela and Mia worked hard to prepare, reflecting on how their lives had changed over the past year. Jonathan, who came to help, praised Mia's kindness, which filled Angela with pride. The dinner was a success, filled with laughter and new connections. Mia, glowing with excitement, addressed the guests, expressing gratitude and emphasizing the importance of feeling loved and included. Angela was deeply moved by the evening, particularly when Mia thanked her publicly, reinforcing their bond and shared mission. As the event concluded, an elderly man thanked Angela and Mia for making him feel part of something again, touching Angela deeply. Exhausted but content, Angela and Mia reflected on the evening's success and the enduring importance of kindness and love. They embraced their shared purpose, knowing their bond and their efforts to make the world a better place were the true measures of their success. As we wrap up today's video, let's take a moment to reflect on the story of Mia and her act of kindness. From the heartfelt encounter in the park to the thoughtful conversations between Mia and her mother, we've seen how even the smallest gestures can create ripples of change in our world. So what have you learned from this story? Is there a lesson or insight that stood out to you? I'd love to hear how this narrative has resonated with you. Comment below with one thing you've learned and how you plan to bring that lesson into your own life. If you enjoyed this video and found it meaningful, please leave a comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your support helps us continue creating content that inspires and uplifts. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.